Hey, we're back. Thanks for coming back to the Games Tavern Happy Hour. I'm joined today by Matt Fehlman. Matt Fehlman is a longtime TTRPG player, as well as quite a bit of extreme streaming experience going as far back as 2019, which, when you look at streaming as a whole, is actually a pretty long time when you talk about Twitch live streaming. So
It's true.
excited to have you here. Now, you were on YouTube and stuff like that too, or were you? Were
Yep,
you
yep.
okay?
We had a channel. It was called Chaotic Night Network,
Hmm.
and we had launched like March of 2019,
Hmm.
and we had a solid start. We ran through most of the, our setup was janky at first,
Hmm.
but we built it, and we had a full studio, and we ran shows we had like 4 RPG shows going,
Hmm.
painting show, painting miniatures and stuff. So it was really good. And we even got over we made Twitch affiliate like that.
Hmm.
I think it was like a month. You have to at least be streaming a month, and you have to meet these other benchmarks. And we met all that within the month. And then as soon as the month hit, we made our Twitch affiliate, and it was big. It was like, yeah, we're in. But it's funny because Twitch does that where it's like, sure, you hit the affiliate stage and that's monumental, but the partner stage, that's
That's the
that's
challenge.
that's the hill to climb. That's a
Yeah, yeah,
so
and excitingly, we're seeing a lot of growth, and we're excited to see you here as being a part of that growth too.
yeah.
Can just so the audience knows, because I think it's interesting, is where in the world are you right now?
I am in Northwest Montana,
Hmm.
a little town called Kalispell, Montana, just south of Whitefish, which is just south of the Canadian border. So we are going through a massive polar freeze right now. I believe the high is supposed to be mid negative teens on Thursday.
So
And
another
yeah,
balmy day in
mm,
your location. Do you,
it's deep chill right now.
yeah, do you have snow fences out there? Because the snow gets so high that they have snow fences to help slow it
N-
down.
They no, see, that's the funny thing. I moved here from Syracuse, New York,
Hmm.
which, if you know, Syracuse has snow.
Oh
They
yeah.
uh
Oh yeah.
they
Huge
get
amounts of
dumped
it from all
on.
the lake effect and everything else. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep. So we moved out here, and it was funny because a lot of people are like, "Have you even been through a Montana winter?" And I'm like, "I'm from Syracuse, New York," and they're like, "Oh," the people that know, and they're like, "Oh, very sorry."
Hmm.
Didn't mean to call into question your ability to weather the winter, but it's not bad here. The snow wise, they get 1 or 2 really good storms a year during the winter, but it's cold here, and the ice is awful. So, but otherwise, it's a serene, picturesque uh, location, something like out of Lord of the Rings, with mountains and snow-capped mountains in the distance, and
Hmm.
yeah, hiking everywhere, and it's really cool. So, not
I,
my end place, but someday I'd like to move somewhere else, somewhere cool, a little warmer maybe.
someplace where there aren't penguins and polar bears potentially moving in any
Yep.
day now. Yeah, yeah. I can only imagine. And I've been in some pretty cold temperatures before too. But man, I can only imagine. I hope your house is nice, warm, and toasty. That's all I
It
can
is.
say.
It is.
Yeah.
And like I see in your chat there, Sage says, play Far Cry 5. That's pretty much, they modeled it after this area that I live in right now. So if you've played Far Cry 5, you've pretty much been where I live.
That's awesome. That's
Hmm.
awesome.
Hmm.
So, growing, where did you grow up? Did you grow, I mean, you didn't grow up in that area, did you?
No, I grew up
Okay.
in Syracuse,
Syracuse. So
Syracuse, New York.
how did you come into, gaming in general? Like, when was your first tabletop game and what was it?
So I'm 44.
Yeah.
So I grew up. My younger years were in the 80s. So
Hmm.
I grew up through D&D's uh, secretive rise. So it was funny because you didn't want
Back
to
when you couldn't
say
admit it. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Now it's like, cool, everybody's D&D and I like D&D, and my brother's cousin's uncle has a streaming channel and he streams D&D, and I'm like,
Hmm.
what the heck? Before, when I was a kid, we had to be like, oh yeah, we're playing poker Friday night. It was code for, live through the satanic panic, the whole, oh, it's the devil's game.
Hmm.
So my first interaction with D&D was, I lived across the street from a buddy of mine, and I would go across the street and we'd hang out on the weekend and stuff like that we went to school together. But so I went over and I knocked on his door one Saturday morning, and he said, oh no, I can't play because we're playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I was like 12, 13. I was like, what's that? Oh, well, hang on a second. And he went in. His father was the DM. His mother and brother and a couple of friends that lived on the street, older kids, were playing as well. And they asked, hey, can he come in and play? And they said, sure, pull up a chair. And I went in, and that was it. That was he. So
First cantrips free, kid.
Yeah, pretty
There you
much.
go.
We sat down. It was first edition D&D. I played it was just an NPC. It was a bad guy, but they basically knocked him out in the fight, and I became basically a thief, elf thief, and his name was Menlo Roche. I even remember
Menlo Roche. I
Menlo
love it.
Roche.
Love it.
And yeah, we played through some of the classic campaigns, Against the Giants,
Mm-hmm.
Descent into the Earth, just the Temple of Elemental Evil,
Mm-hmm.
just some of the classics. And we played through, and it was hardcore. It's funny because 5th edition and 4th edition, people talk about TPKs, and it's like, they happen. But if you're good DM and you balance it, back then they didn't
There
pull
was no
punches.
rule. There was nothing about it. Like there was even
No
times where
death
it would be almost,
saves.
yeah, it would be combative. Once your HP got below a certain level, basically you were dead. Yeah.
Yep.
It
Wizards
really,
were like, magic missile. I'm gonna hang out in the back now. You
yeah.
guys, good luck with that.
Oh yeah, because they had the one spell when they started. Yeah,
Yep.
there were definitely some challenges there. But I'm glad to see how much 5th edition is, and as well as you saw updates in 3.5 and 4, and and 5 is really smooth now.
It's been a progression, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I thought I'd never leave 2nd edition. I was like,
Mhm.
2nd edition, I don't want to buy all these new books, and then I moved out here, and I went to my LGS, and I was like, hey, you guys playing any 2nd edition? And they laughed, first of
Mhm.
all. And they were like, no, we're playing 5th here. And I was like, oh, I only play 2nd. And the guy that runs the shop was like, well, how's that working out for you? I'm like, well, it's not. He's like, well, why don't you grab a 5th edition book and let's get started. So
And the thing is I find that most people who like the earlier editions, once they play 5th edition and they realize how smooth it is, most of them, some people are always going to be a hardliner. They like what they like, right?
They like what they like. It's
Yeah,
fine.
but I stopped playing at 3rd edition. I was a big 2nd edition guy,
Mm-hmm.
and then I stopped playing for like 20 years. It felt like, because I was playing in the 80s as well, in the late 90s.
So you were out of it for
Oh yeah, I left.
quite a while.
Yeah, and then I made the mistake of opening a game store a long time ago, just a few years back actually, and it's no longer around. But
oh, dude.
Yeah, but we obviously stocked 5th edition, and it's important to know your products. So of course I was jumping in, and I started playing, and I fell in love with it immediately. I was like, this is great. I'm back. And I've never stopped since. It's just been spectacular. And I'm a hardcore tabletop miniatures wargamer too.
Oh, so, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't have the patience for the model painting and collecting, and
Uh-huh.
It's
You're
funny.
a heretic, you know that. Right?
I know. Hey, friendship is magic and magic is heresy. So
Yeah, exactly. You get it. You get it. So, go ahead.
I was going to say when I left, because I left for a while as well.
Mhm.
So I the DM that had gotten me into it, my buddy's father, he had brain cancer, and so he lost his eye. Well, that's the thing. So he lost his eye, but so he got an eye patch, and he liked to smoke a lot. So he would sit behind the classic DM screen, with the guys pulling the ruby out of the eye and everything of the statue, and he'd sit back there. He's got a lamp behind him. He's smoking, just curling up around him as he's talking and painting the scene. He's got the eye patch, and he had this chuckle.
Oh my goodness.
It was like a dragon. It was so thematic, and it was perfect. I'd been in it for a while, and then my buddy and I played after we stopped playing with them, and then I met my wife. So I left that behind for a while to foster relationships, and had a
How'd that work out for you?
Good. We got we're still married. So she's my high school sweetheart. We're married, and we've got 3 kids now.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Yep. So that's so about halfway through that, I joined up with this other crew, and we'd played 2nd edition until I moved away, and we moved out here to Montana. So I'd been in it for a while, left it, came back, and then bumped up to 5th edition.
So when was the first RPG? Was that the first RPG you also DM'd?
5th edition?
Yeah.
I tried to DM 2nd edition a few times. It's tough. As Gia Critique says, the woman who would be queen of the Karens. My wife's name is Karen. She was actually on the streaming show.
Really?
She was one of my players and that was her first time really in a D&D game. And it's funny. She played a paladin of vengeance.
Really?
Vengeance.
No subtlety there. Okay.
No, she is very, no nonsense when it comes to dishing out justice.
Justice.
She liked to sever heads a bit too much. So I'm like, so how do you want to handle this death? And she's like, lop the head off. Okay.
Vengeance is done. Vengeance is quick. Vengeance is fierce. Okay.
It is indeed.
So you started DMing around 5th edition then. That's really when you came into it. Now you've DM'd quite a bit from what I understand.
Yep. I DM'd a show on the streaming channel. We had a show called RPG Out of the Box where I started out. The show was I would get various RPG starter box sets, and I would RPG the opening adventure that came with that box set for various systems. We started with 5th edition. We did Starfinder. And we did Shadowrun, and then we started they didn't have Pathfinder's box set out yet, but we started with their first adventure, and then we retooled the show because they wanted the viewers and the players both wanted to do a longer form campaign. So then we tackled Baldur's Gate's Descent into Avernus.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's what we had been going through when the show and channel came to an end.
Yeah.
Thanks COVID.
Thanks COVID. And at the same time, I have to thank COVID because now you've come on board with us, and we're happy to see you and all that stuff that goes with it. Hey, chat, if you guys have questions, just type question in all caps. We'll be taking questions from chat at any point in time. Unless your question would violate the terms of service, we pretty much will take almost any question. But try to be civil where possible. Let's see here. So DMing and all that. So you've played quite a few RPGs since you were doing, all these different open box, one source stuff like that. As you've come along and you've played all these different RPGs, what would you say is your current favorite one to play?
Well, my favorite one to play just for fun is gotta be Paranoia.
Ooh. Okay. Okay. I'm feeling what you're putting down there.
It's
Okay.
Paranoia is great short term. You
Uh-huh.
do not want to do that long term because it gets old really fast. But for just a filler, or you need like 3 or 4 sessions of some filler, good Paranoia game is amazing because it's leads to nothing but hilarity. I highly recommend. There was a live stream. You can find it on YouTube now. It's got Felicia Day, Matt Mercer, Will Wheaton, and a bunch of others that they play Paranoia, and it's hilarious. If you want a good example
Oh,
of
yeah.
how to play Paranoia, check that out.
Maybe we'll have to run one.
It's definitely funny. My favorite long term, I definitely like D&D 5th edition because it's very, but I also like Pathfinder, and I know a lot of people are worried about Pathfinder being kind of overbearing, but
Crunchy.
Pathfinder, yes, Pathfinder 2nd edition is actually really good as well. Except the character creation. I hate the character creation. The new Pathfinder, and I know my my LGS friend would groan because he loves Pathfinder 2nd edition. And I love the world of Pathfinder, but yeah, it's great.
That's a I think Pathfinder. I actually got a hold of the Pathfinder playtest for 2nd edition book. We have the giant thick book for that before they actually released official 2nd edition.
Yeah,
there was a lot of feedback on that, and then they had released the printable errata to change some of that stuff, and I think they did a really good job getting that feedback and putting it to use almost immediately. We have a question from chat. Who's your favorite player character so far that isn't your own? That's a good question, isn't it, for a DM especially?
That is a good question. I mean, I love a lot of I ran the Descent into Avernus game, and that was a really good game. We had some great characters in that. I also run a Wild Mount campaign on the side, just for a couple of friends of mine, and they've got a great dichotomy as well. And it's tough. It's like picking children. You know, you don't want to be like, oh, I like this one better, but they all kind of work together. That's a tough call. Yes, Queen Karen says mine. That's my wife there.
The paladin that lops off heads. Yes.
The head lopping.
Pick your favorite child is
pick my favorite child. That's brilliant. That's a tough call. I mean, I've had wacky wizards, gnome wizards that act like crazy people and don't pick the typical spells that most wizards should, and it leads to hilarity. I've got an artificer armorer who is so hard to hit with my bad guys. I cannot hit them, and I can't fault him. He put together a great character that's like just. We've got a monk Aarakocra that's just the wizard. Will anytime they go into combat, the first thing the wizard does is haste the Aarakocra monk, and they act like time stands still. That Quicksilver kind of scene with in X-Men. There, he's like, "Hey, guess what time it is? No, not again. We just had a fight." Zaps him with the haste. That's funny.
Oh, that's always awesome when you can pull that off. Haste and slow are some of the best spells in D&D for buffing yourself or reducing an enemy, especially giants. Haste against giants and slow or haste on your friends and slow on your enemies is fantastic. We have another question. What is your favorite D&D class? It's a joke. When are you going to make your character for my game? From Sage Saga. So apparently one of your friends in chat is giving you harassment.
Yeah, Sage is a good friend of mine. He's been with me the whole time through I had a podcast a long time ago where we talked about geek culture. He was around He was there for the RPG out of the box, and he's here now. He's putting together like this epic game where you can basically make anything, you can bring anything to your character. You just have to have it on your sheet. If it's not on your sheet, you don't have it. It's like an epic level, like 20th level game characters, and it's going to be epic. My favorite class, I would have to say, I like, when I was younger, I would play the typical stuff: fighter, rogue, the stuff that's, all the memes are about. Now I try to play things like, if I'm not, I try to play things out of the box. I think out of the box when it comes to new characters. So, I've tried warlocks. I'm in the short shot. I'm playing a blind fighter.
That's actually a pretty cool character. I got to admit.
I'm trying to do. I try to take something and see if I can make it new. I take this boring class. Everybody says, "Oh, fighters are boring. Fighters are boring."
I don't think so.
What makes them boring? If you're not putting the effort in, then of course they're going to be boring. You've got to.
There's just so many opportunities to role play the action as a fighter. Where's the panache? Where's the skill? Where's the athletics that comes in with that attack, right?
And you don't have to be just a grunty human fighter. You can be somebody that has a personality, a comedian fighter, just everything. Everybody grab my pole.
Phrasing. Yeah. One of your co-stars on the stream is in there, and he's mentioning a phrase that came out. Everyone grab my pole. That's right.
That comes out tomorrow on YouTube, right?
It should drop tomorrow on YouTube.
Nice.
So if you're not subscribed to our YouTube, by the way, please definitely subscribe to our YouTube. You'll see the link, I think, in chat shortly, if it's not already there. And you'll be able to see the premieres of each and every one of our Twitch streams on a regular basis. So that, you actually, there was some great phrasing moments in there, I think, as well.
That's what D&D is, or any role-playing game. It's the moments. It's the character moments. Me as a DM, some of the best stuff is when I can just sit back and not say a word, and the players just build off each other. They start talking. It just thrills the hell out of me when they get into that.
Yeah. What's your favorite RPG to run?
I really, when I was younger, I had Aliens, the adventure game, and based off the movie Aliens. And that was my favorite to run. It was an awful system, but I had a lot of fun with the guys that I played with. Nowadays, I like Shadowrun, but it's awful. I like Shadowrun, but the 6th edition is awful. It's just not
really
great. Yeah, it's the way I like old Shadowrun. That's a good question. I've dabbled a little in the new Alien RPG put out by free publish. What's the? I can't think of the company name, but they put out an Alien RPG. It's really good and really in depth. It's got like this stress system so that it builds and makes dice rolls harder. You know what's my favorite though? 10 Candles.
10
Have
Candles.
You played it?
Oh, in the dark? Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just so thematic.
You run that? You actually ran 10 Candles?
I've run 10 Candles for some of my friends, and it was a blast.
I think that's a game that is, until you've played it, you really can't understand how spooky the game starts to get at the end.
Yeah. It's a great system. It's simplistic. You don't need to know tons of rules. It's all just storytelling, and everybody helps make this great creepy story. Kids on Bikes is a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
If you ever played that? I love like 80s. I'm being a child of the 80s. I love a lot of 80s movies, culture. So I love Kids on Bikes. It's I keep using thematic. I gotta come up with a different word.
Oh man, it's great. I mean, theming
It's
is part of the games though too, you know.
it really is.
Um, with all these things, you know, what's an RPG that you've not played or run that you would if you could and you had the time?
Alien. The
Alien?
the new Alien RPG. They just came out with an adventure called Destroyer of Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
With it's a marine based, you know, the Colonial Marines,
Mm-hmm.
and they're coming out with a Colonial Marines source book. I believe this summer or fall, I'm not sure, but soon. Um, I'd really like to play. I like to play it,
Mm-hmm.
but the problem being a GM, you want to play something, and everyone's like, "Great, when are you running it?"
Yeah, yeah. They're like, no. That was you're doing it. I'll
You
loan you the
want it?
book, please.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
well, I tell you what, Chad, if you can find a link for this RPG and give it to us in chat, we'd be very interested in seeing that. I'm very excited to hear about this Aliens RPG. I know I'm going to look it up now that you brought it up.
Free League Publishing. That's
Free
the
League
company.
Publishing.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, my friend Guy Critique, his monk in our first box set on RPG Out of the Box. He was doing the element monk, and
Mm-hmm.
he was trying to put together the avatar, and
Mm-hmm.
it was his first time ever playing. He'd never played D&D. He jumped. I said, "Hey, I need a spot filled." He was there, and he filled in, and he did great. Him and his wife joined us, and yeah, they did really well. They'd never played D&D before, but they
Oh
had a
man,
great time on stream. They did perfect.
that's
He's
always
a
awesome when
voice
that happens.
actor.
Oh
He's got
yeah,
his, he's
yeah.
got his own IMDb, so
Okay.
he's
Okay.
met like some of the Critical Role cast and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he's a great guy.
So, what inspired you after you've been playing all these games to decide, you know, I think I'm going to become a streamer. I'm gonna go on camera because you know it's a completely different level. I mean, once you're actually doing it, like we are, you know, and you go forward and you start actually putting all this stuff together. You know, so a lot of people just decide, you know, this is really hard work. Other people just love it, and you're one of those guys who loved it, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I also have to balance being a dad,
Mm-hmm.
so but it takes a lot of work. Everybody says they watch like Critical Role or some of the others, and they're like, I want to do that. That looks easy and fun. Well, it's fun, but it ain't easy.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work. You have to hustle to get every streaming session out there. You got to build the audience. You got to
Mm-hmm.
keep
Mm-hmm.
them coming back. So you can't just be like, I think this is a good stopping point. You gotta leave it on a cliffhanger and be like, you got to give people a reason to go, I got to come back and see what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Just like Sage says, like most jobs. Um, it's you've got to know, you got to be in it,
Mm-hmm.
and it I could see this being an 8-hour a day job.
Well, for some, I mean, I can see that very easily happening, especially if you're streaming like that level every day. I know that Matt Mercer puts in about 6 hours before as prep for his dungeon mastering for every show.
Yeah,
You
but
know, at least 6 hours.
he doesn't have to do quite the hustle for the social media
Oh yeah,
and
he's got a
building.
team doing all that. Yeah,
I
so
mean, they've got,
focus on his craft, you know. And
yeah.
but you're also not just I mean, when you said, hey, let's go on camera, let's stream, you weren't doing that from an idea of, I'm a goofy gamer and I think people like my games too. Which isn't necessarily bad, because there's people who are very successful doing that because they're very entertaining. But you also have a bit of a drama background, don't you?
Yeah, I've done stage acting,
Mm-hmm.
um dinner theater, live theater, dinner singing theater. I mean, I'm not as good as the singer, mostly on for when you're singing up on stage at karaoke. But
Mm-hmm.
I've done dinner theater and live stage theater for a while in Syracuse before I moved out here. I haven't done it out here, so it's that itch I need to scratch.
Mm-hmm.
I love, and I know this terrifies some of my introverted friends. I love going out on stage in front of a full packed audience. You
Mhm.
know, it could be 10 people, it could be 10,000 people. It would have the same level of thrill for me.
Mhm.
It doesn't scare me at all.
Mhm.
So I love to entertain people. And I think that's what drives me to want to do this, not because it's going to make me big and famous and maybe someday Matt Mercer will be like, hey, Matt, why don't you come on and play with us? No, that's not going to happen. But I love to be able to entertain people. Even if I don't make a dime out of this,
Yeah,
it's fun. I have fun.
absolutely, absolutely. And as a person who's done a fair bit of performing myself, and although I think you've actually done more than I have, professionally anyway, or semi-pro, we'll call it. And I did some stand up way back in the day, and a lot of
Stand up's
improv too.
tough.
Stand up is hard as hell, but
I
actually we have a guy, Joe, who does it a lot more than, I mean, he's doing it currently. Well, I don't know about right now, but he's done a lot more of it than I did. I was doing it back in my late 20s in Chicago, and I was doing a lot of stuff with Second City and
Oh
going to
wow.
their clinics. I wasn't on Second City. I was just in their
Oh okay. I
clinics and
was
stuff
like,
like that.
wow, a lot of
Yeah,
people.
no. But like those guys are spot on. Like when you're working with some of those guys and you see these guys who are literally like, they're so hot, like in terms of how they work and stuff like that. It's like being in the room with a comet, you know? But the exciting part, I think, for me is I got over that fear, just like you probably did at some point. Cause like when you first go on stage, no one automatically just goes on
Oh
stage and
no.
goes, they love me. It's you have to figure out that nobody there wants to see you fail. Even the hecklers don't want to see you
I
fail. They nobody says, I'm going to pay a lot of money and go see something crappy.
right.
Right.
I'm not, the comedy thing,
Mm-hmm.
stand up comedy. That's another level because for me, what I do is I shut the fourth wall,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't see those people out there. I can hear them and subconsciously they register, but I'm in the moment. It's like press and play on a movie and watching it go. I'm doing my lines, even
Mm-hmm.
if something happens. Example, I was supposed to have this fight with a guy. He was supposed to step on the vacuum cleaner and it was going to shut the house lights off, and we were having a fight in the dark,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes to step on the vacuum and it doesn't turn on, so it can't blow the fuse, so the house lights didn't come off. And there's that moment of terror that grips you. And I look at it more like shifting gears on a manual
Mm-hmm.
transmission.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, let's shift gears, go into third, and
You
let's
can't find
start
them,
fighting.
grind
Yep,
them.
yep. Can't find them, grind them, and let's find a gear that works and start going. And yeah, and we pulled it off, and the crowd went wild. It was great. So
That's awesome when you can pull that off.
yeah, but stand up, you're standing there, and it's just you and the crowd, and you're
And the
talking
crowd's
to them.
interactive in a lot of cases
Yes,
too. Yeah. Oh
I've
yeah.
seen
And
hecklers.
sometimes more than you wish. Yeah. And I think in the streaming's case, because you get, especially in like this particular show, which has a lot of chat interaction. And by the way, chat, we love you. Big hearts to all of you.
I
You're the
do love you,
best.
chat. You
Yeah.
guys are the
So
greatest.
we heart you. Um, the thing I will tell you is that, with chat, and at least here you have rules in stand up, that people will say whatever they want, and
Yeah.
they can be very, very hostile in some cases, especially after they've had a couple in them, but a couple drinks anyway. But overall, I think my experience was, nobody really wants to pay a cover charge, or nobody really wants to spend their quality time watching something that sucks. So they're there rooting for you, even if you're having a hard time,
Mm-hmm.
and they know you're having a hard time. Most of the people are actually sympathetic and are trying to, cheer you on regardless. And what's one of the great things about the Twitch community is, the people there are mostly there to support you. And Luke Thomas, you can heckle all you want, but be prepared for what the return volley might look like for
The
everybody.
band hammer.
And Takashi Silver says he loves us too, or he or she loves us too.
Takashi, he's a good friend of mine.
Yeah. So all the loves all the time, my friend. I get switching gears a little bit.
Sure.
You're kind of a reader too, right?
Yeah, I don't read as much as I used to.
Hmm.
I loved reading when I was in high school, and
Hmm.
I've read a lot of the classics. Big fan of the Dragonlance series.
Is there like a book you've read more than once, or you come back to it repeatedly for inspiration?
I read the first three Dragonlance books
Hmm.
multiple times. Uh, I have the annotated edition where it has all three of them put together in one huge book with all the Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman comments in it.
Hmm.
I've actually met both of them in person, Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. Tracy is a funny guy. Margaret Weiss is this very straight-laced woman. You could tell he's the funny guy, and she's the straight person,
Oh
basically.
yeah, yeah.
And together they write just these great stories.
Hmm.
And I'm super excited that they're coming out with a new trilogy
Yeah,
after so many
yeah,
years. I'm like,
yeah.
this is amazing.
That is the part that's kind of everybody's kind of like waiting, just waiting for it to drop. So I'm kind of excited about it myself. I think we talked about some of that not that long ago. I think a few episodes back on the Games Tavern Happy Hour. So it'll be cool to see when those drop.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I met Michael Stackpole.
Hmm.
He's the guy that wrote the X-Wing series.
Hmm. Hmm.
He's written a bunch of other series, and I told him, I was interested in writing, and he said, well, if I can give you any kind of advice, don't write in your own universe, or don't write in somebody else's universe. Write your
Yeah.
own, which is funny coming from the
Mhm.
guy that wrote the X-Wing series, and
Well, he's got to check through everything,
yep,
right? He's got to do a ton of research. I mean, we have the same challenge when we do stuff
yes,
in Forgotten
BattleTech.
Realms for our streams too, because as the dungeon master, one of the things that we try not to do on stream is do any of the pre-published adventures that other people are running, because what we
Hmm.
don't want to do is show on stream something that would change or be different from their adventure. We want their adventure to be theirs, right?
Hmm.
So we coexist in their world without breaking their adventures. So
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. And then we reference things that occur in the background sometimes with that.
yeah. And one thing, so when I was trying to grow the Chaotic Night Network, and
Hmm.
I was like, you know, I was talking to this guy that ran his own channel,
Hmm.
and he's big, he's got a big presence on social media, and I said, what am I doing? What can I do to build an audience faster? Because I was
Hmm.
hungry, I wanted more, I wanted,
Absolutely.
and he said, what's different about you than any of the other streaming shows? And it was funny because I started out right away by saying, well, we've got a diverse cast of, varying types of people playing in of representation, playing in D&D. And the way I was saying it, I could literally hear myself saying, so what's different about that? Because everybody else has the
Hmm.
same thing. Oh, they all have a diverse cast of representative group of people, and it's very samey.
Hmm.
So that if you want to go into streaming, you gotta set yourself apart.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And sometimes just setting yourself apart is as simple as being consistent too. That's
yes,
that's the other tough thing for a lot of folks. But yeah, definitely got to do something different.
you have to be consistent. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um, what as a player or as a dungeon master, what were some early mistakes you think you learned from that changed? Was there any aha moments or moments where you went, "Ooh, I DM'd myself into a corner"?
Yeah. So one of the bigger mistakes that I made was I actually DM'd, and I almost TPK'd, and I broke a group that had been together for a long time, almost 10 years. We had been together for
Hmm.
10 years, and I was like, oh, I want to try my hand at DMing, and I DM'd. I think the fractures were already there, but when
Hmm.
railroading your players, not giving them enough, if you try to railroad them to where you want to go, but you also have to do it subtly, because the problem is they were like, we feel like we're being railroaded. We don't want to, we want to, okay, fine. And then the problem is when you give them too much freedom, they were going right for the big bad guy layer that they weren't ready for, but they had figured out the mystery, and they were going there. Oh, we're going to go out to this old cave and go down there. And there was way above their level. And it almost killed them all. And then they were like, we're done with this. So you have to read your players. You have to know, you have to give them, sounds awful, but you're peeking behind the DM screen. You have to give them the illusion of choice, even if you're not giving them a choice. It's okay to move the big bad guy layer and put something else there in its place. Oh, we figured it out. It's at this old cave. Well, the big bad guy moved and he set up a trap, and it's only a few thugs that are there that, you have to play the balancing game. You have to spin many plates as a DM, and so you have to like figure out what's best for your players. What are they having fun? No? Okay, well, you need to don't be such a rigid GM or DM that you think this is it. My story is great. Don't screw with my story.
Right.
Because
it's their story too, right?
Right.
Yeah. I found myself making that mistake myself.
Yeah. Don't give them carte blanche, because that's not fun either. Nobody likes a Monty Hall adventure, and I'm dating myself because most people are like, who the hell's Monty Hall?
Oh, well, I mean, that term is not really used anymore in D&D, although it should be, because it's a very real term. Yeah.
It really is.
Of all the projects you've worked on so far, what would you say is your most popular or most successful one that you've enjoyed?
Well, I would say the short shots that I'm, because that's my current right now project. So
really? Okay.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm on. So I have to give that my all, because at least that's in the public eye. My favorite that I'm doing right now is my Wild Mount campaign that I'm running for my friends on the side, not streamed, not, although it should be, because there's some wacky stuff that goes on that I think would be great. But these guys are all introverted guys, and they would never want to stream it, but it's great. It's a lot of fun. They're having fun, and it makes me happy that they're having fun. It's that entertainer in me, that I love to entertain. So if I get my joy out of somebody else having joy of what I'm giving to them, the story that I'm giving to them.
Yeah. I mean, and it's also good to also have some games that you don't do on stream too. I mean, that keeps it loose when it needs to be loose.
It's so much. Yeah. It's when I was doing RPG out of the box, it's so tense because I project, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm trying to, and you're paying attention to the viewer numbers. Oh, tonight we only had 3 viewers. What the hell was I doing wrong? And, whereas if it's just a side game on the side for fun, I don't have to pay attention to any of that. Just, did you guys have fun? We had fun. Great. I've made Twitch partner, privately. I didn't have to get 75, average viewers per set. Geez. So.
Oh, don't think it's impossible. It's very possible.
Yeah, but it's a big hill to climb. But yes.
Well, positivity. We've got the right gear and the right people. So, is there a game you've played that I mean, like there's some games I've played that I've just really said, this game is amazing. And when people ask me about certain types of games, is there a game, any kind of game you want, any tabletop game at all? Doesn't have to be an RPG. It can be though.
I played.
Is there one you would recommend above all others?
I played for the first time. I played Nemesis. Have you seen that game?
No, I don't think I have. But I'm going to look it up now.
It's like Alien, the first Alien, but it's, obviously they couldn't get the license for it, but it's a really cool game. It's basically you're on this ship, you've come out of hypersleep, something's gone wrong with the ship to wake you up, and you and your crew have to figure out what happened. So somebody says, well, I'm going to go up to the bridge, to take a look. Somebody says, I'm going to go to engineering, and everybody has their own objectives, secret objectives that you could want the ship to get to where it's got to go. You could want to get off the ship, blow it up, and make sure you've got an alien egg with you to take back to the company, So it's a really good game. It's
I'm gonna have to check that out.
It's like $120.
Probably worth it if you're that excited about it.
But the models are really beautiful, very generic-y looking, like aliens, but it's done really well. It's a lot of fun, and the backstabbing is hilarious.
Oh, that's the most important part. I'm always here for the stabbing. We're gonna switch gears a little bit, I think, and shift to something a little more interesting as a player or as a person in real life. You remember back in the early 90s or late 90s, the what's your ASL? Yeah. Yes. Well, we're going to do this a little bit different. What's your ABC? Your alignment, background, and class. What's your real life alignment, background, and class? What would it be?
My alignment is the same thing. It usually is all my character alignments. It's chaotic good, hands down.
Chaotic good. Okay.
I played a character. He was a monk, and he was chaotic good. And I know you can't do chaotic for monks, but he was chaotic. So, and his way of answering anybody saying, "Why did you do that?" was balance. He followed the way of balance. And he would say that, which was basically just me saying, I do what I want, So and it led to some funny moments, because from that phrase, I took the gold that we had gotten and I bought land and I started a school and I started a complete different way. It was called the Way of Balance. And it was hilarious. It was in the Pathfinder system. So, yes.
So your alignment would be chaotic good. What about your background and class?
Background, personally, real life? I would have to say entertainer would be
your background.
Would be my background of for myself. I love to entertain. And my class would have to be, I want to say bard or rogue, but not with a thief type slant, more like the talker slant, the face of the group.
Sounds like a bard.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like you could be a rogue with good FaceTime, that just also happens to play a small instrument here and there, sure.
And like I said, you don't have to be what the book says you are. You're not,
play
if you're a rogue, right? You could be an archaeologist. Indiana Jones was a rogue, I mean, you just, that's however you spin
with the archaeologist background.
Yes. Didn't they just add that? That was in was that in Tasha's book? Just
the archaeologist background has been around for a while. It's not in Tasha's. It's been around. I think it's actually in it's Eberron. Xanathar's.
Or maybe
Xanathar's. Yeah. We can find out. Hold on. I'll tell you. We have the ability.
Nice.
But while we're doing that, if your character walked into a curio shop, what trinket would they find?
I always like odd things like what?
That chat just figured out it was from Tomb of Annihilation. That's what.
Tomb of Annihilation. Yep.
So what curio would you find? Sorry about that. I interrupted.
I like things like a key that has no lock, or a map that has no, reference of where it's to. Something like that. I love.
A true mystery of mysteries.
Yep. I love to be able to go, oh, I might need this someday, and putting it away, and then just like, we got this lock, we can't. Now's the time.
And it might work.
It doesn't work.
It's so crazy, it might just work. Yep,
right.
Nope, you're crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that is great.
What was the name of your favorite tavern in a game?
um, we we had this tavern. It was in, I think it's in Faerun, and Sage could probably help me out with this, but it's something like the Come On In or something like that. And I was playing with this guy, and when the DM said that, it just the guy hates puns, and when he did that, it just melted this guy's brain, and we laughed our asses off. So I like any tongue in cheek ins, like the Come On In or the Wayward In, just something that's tongue in cheek that leads to being a pun. Perfect.
I think as a dungeon master, one of the things I enjoy most is outside of those moments where they truly need to be very serious, like when they're fighting the evil big bad guy and there's hostages involved or something like that. That's the serious moment. But when they're doing the what is it, the anything else, I think that when a player can get a zinger in that makes me laugh as the DM and lose character for a moment, that is spectacular. I mean, I think my biggest moment of that, I think you guys did a couple different things. You said, like, everyone grabbed my pole, and I just kind of started to lose it, like phrasing.
Damn it.
Yeah. But I think it's always awesome when the players challenge the DM with, can he keep a straight face when we do some of the ridiculous crap that we do, are you the same way? Is that what works that way?
Oh yeah. You? If the players break down and I'm just like, when I don't see it coming, that's the perfect, the perfect moment. It's like, oh, that hurts so bad.
What is not starting in a tavern the way you would have characters start up?
I like things like your moments that thrust you into the action. You're in jail and there's a prison riot, or you're being shoved into an arena with a bunch of other people, and are expected to fight. You're on a slaver ship. You don't have anything. You've got to build up from nothing. Back when I was younger, and you're like, oh, I have all these things that I brought, and all this gear. The gear is nothing. It's about the story, and right, I'll start a game with nothing, no money, no weapons, just maybe the clothes on my back, and that's it. And that's all I need is to get going with an adventure. So, I like things that put you in a situation where, you're thrust into some sort of sudden action. It's a good start to even a movie. You wanna like grip them right away. Like, oh, this is serious. And the bar fight is kind of a twist on that, but overdone. So
yeah, the bar fight, bringing people together through brutality. You're all naked in a swamp came from chat, and that's always great. That's really starting from nothing.
He says that, but what's funny is that was one of my worst D&D games that I had ever been in.
Really?
I started in a swamp. So I was at a local LGS back when I was much younger, and I was like, hey, can I join? And they were like, sure, we've been playing for a while, but here, make your character. And so I made a character, which is no small task. I mean, it takes an hour and a half to make a character, especially in second edition. And I was captured by lizard people and in pens, and the party was going through the swamp on a raft, and they come up to the area. They set us free. The lizard people were distracted, so they were off. They set us free. All the other people ran, all the NPCs ran, and I came out and I was like, I want to go with you guys. And they go and they get it back on their boat. You can hear the lizard people coming. The guy's like, you've got 1 hit point. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I can work with that. I was like, I want to come with you guys. And the ranger was like, no. I'm
What?
like, it gets worse. So I was like, please, they're coming. I've been held prisoner for so long. I need to escape. I can't live with these like this any longer. I go to get on, and he pulls out his bow and arrow, and he takes it and he points it at me. He's like, if you touch this boat, I will kill you. I was like, I got it. And he's like, they're coming right up on you. And I'm like, I got to get on the boat. And I touch the boat. He shoots me. I'm dead.
That's not a game, man. That's a jerk face. Okay.
Yep.
Well, he kind of missed the point of playing the game. So.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Wow. Power play. Well, I'm glad we don't do that around here.
It's very rare that something like that happens. But if it does, if I can tell Chad anything, it's don't let that discourage you.
Yeah.
Don't, you're going to get a bad game, and that's fine. Just use it as experience. Mm-hmm. Let it roll off your back. Move on to the next one. Find a group that you will, love to play adventures with.
Absolutely. And that's great advice. Is, don't let that first bad game steer you away. Keep coming back. Trust me, there's plenty of fun out there to be had.
Yeah.
Before we break off, because we're getting close to the end of our night tonight, where can people find you on social media right now?
So I'm primarily on the Twitter.
Twitter.
I like to call it the Twitters. But I'm on Twitter at Matt Fehlman, just like here on the chat. Yep. And yeah, I'm on there. I post a lot of talk about TTRPGs. I'm pretty heavy in the TTRPG community on there. I like posting memes. I post, interesting thoughts and twists on TTRPGs. I'm there for advice. I've had people DM me on the side and just say, how do I do this, or how do I get into that? And my DMs are always open. So if you want, and I always try to follow people that have something to do with TTRPG. So if you follow me and you're like, I'm into TTRPG as well, I'll follow you back. I'm definitely I'll follow you. If you're following me, I'll follow you, unless you've got no bio, or you're obviously a Russian bot. I won't follow that, but yeah. So
for those interested, Matt is on our Saturday short shot Dark Days in Mole Master, a three shot series, and will be appearing in other things upcoming and to be announced later. Is there anything else you want to hype, Matt, that you're working on, or anything like that?
No, just watch the Games Tavern. Watch their shows. I've got some great stuff. I've been really loving it. I've been watching stuff while I'm working during the day, and I'm really impressed, and I'm looking forward to working with you guys.
All right.
I've had a lot of fun. And to people out there, if you guys, don't hesitate to reach out and ask, if you need help. I've got a ton of resources that I pull from for DMing, especially with all the digital DMing on virtual tabletops nowadays. There's so many resources out there to get, battle maps, story plot hooks, everything. You just got to look for it.
And we even produce those on our Patreon for the Games Tavern as well. So there's a DM level Patreon
support that Patreon
tier, blah 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 blah. Yeah, that tier is a great way to get access to battle maps. We're building plugin encounters to drop in right now. Perfect. And then after we get enough of them, we'll put together a book. And we're doing all sorts of cool stuff with that. And I love people who create plugin encounters, because as a DM, it's like pulling from a toolbox. Like,
yes,
yeah. I mean,
because you've got to fill in. Okay, so your players just finished this adventure hook. They're level 3. The next adventure hook that you've got is like level 5 or 6 to 8, and you're like, well, how the hell am I going to fill level 3, 4, and get them to 5 to start that next one? Plot hooks. Just these different little just mini adventures, but you weave them into the story so that they're it almost seems seamless, like what you're doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, Matt, I'm excited to have you on the team. I'm excited to get to talk to you and find out a lot more about you and your background. This is kind of the first time we've had a really good long talk about that,
Yeah.
outside of that first initial conversation. Like, hey, you want to do this? Yeah, let's get on stream. Yeah, let's. Okay, you're not going to do the following, are you? Talking about the no stuff and all that. But I really, excited to have you on board, and I can't wait to talk to you again at length, possibly on the happy hour again.
I'm always up
and
for it.
Definitely excited to see you playing games for a change, as opposed to being the forever DM.
Yes.
So,
be wary of being a DM, because you will fall down that DM forever DM hole.
Oh, it's not necessarily a hole. I like being a DM too. But hey, guys, for those of you who Sage Saga, free me.
He's a forever DM.
Yeah. For those of you interested, we are also looking for additional people for several new show concepts that we're building out. Switching over to a brief commercial for a moment. If you're not on the Games Tavern Discord, please definitely join the Games Tavern Discord and check out the casting call channel. Not everybody gets a chance to get on, but that doesn't mean we won't talk to you and we won't give you either good advice or possibly bring you on board and put you on a short shot like we did with Matt and quite a few other people, some of whom never streamed before. So, and they're knocking it out of the park like champs. So
gotta start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere, and it's a great way to do things. And you're not starting alone. You have a lot of people that are supporting you and helping you and doing all sorts of other stuff. But if you're a game master, or if you're a performing player and you want to try to check out what streaming is like, give us a holler, check us out. And then also check us out on social media. Say hi. We definitely want to talk to you there too. And with that, I think the final thing I want to mention is Tabletop Audio. Big thanks to them for the background music and ambiance in all of our shows. And with that, we'll close out for the night. Say goodbye, Matt.
Goodbye, Matt.
I knew you'd do that. I just knew. Take care, everybody.
Have a good one. Thank you for showing up.